Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. It is Martin Luther King Day today, so I'm off of work, yay! So I'm in my big baggy shirt and I'm comfortable, and boy are we going to do something fun today. Before we get started, I have a quick announcement to make. Last night I was perusing through Amazon and found our little propane oven that we have featured in a previous video. It's a propane oven on the bottom and has two propane burners on the top. We paid $2.99 for it at Costco. It then went up to $3.59. Last night I found it on Amazon for $280. I posted that on our Facebook page for those people that are on that page. And now this morning some of them are saying that it is coming up for $266. It is a steal for $266. So if you are in the market for a little propane stove, I'll put the link, the Amazon link, in the description of this video today, and I hope it holds for a few days. Okay, so today we are going to do burrito in a jar. It is a dry mix. It fits in a pint jar, and I have Phyllis Denning, one of our viewers on Facebook, to thank for this recipe. Just a quick background, she sent me that recipe to ask if it was safe for canning, and I immediately knew it was not because it contains rice, and that's a do not can ingredient. But I took a look at that recipe and it looked so inviting, and Jim loves burritos, and so I converted it to this burrito in a jar. So we're going to get started on that in just a moment. There are lots of recipes out there that are fairly easy to convert over to a dry mix in a jar if they contain food that are on the do not can list. And you can do it too, especially if you've been doing a lot of freeze drying or dehydrating of individual ingredients like onions or peppers, or especially now if you have been doing fast beans. So this whole jar we just dump right in a pot, bring it to a boil, simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we have burrito filling ready to go. We're going to start with our fast beans. Now the recipe itself calls for pinto beans. This is the last of my fast pinto beans. I thought I had more. I've been out there doing some cleaning and straightening around, and I swear I have another quart, but evidently I couldn't find it this morning. So we are also going to use some black beans. The first ingredient, and you can layer these any way you want to. I like things that I have dry mix in jars. I like to have them really look pretty when they're on the shelf. And so I tried one, and then we actually cooked it, and Jim had burritos, and I didn't exactly like how it looked in the jar. This is my second attempt. It's okay, but I'm going to try a different one this morning. So I'm going to start with the beans. This is a 1 cup measure. It's 3/4 of a cup. So I'm just going to be a little bit shy of 1 cup there, and those go in first. Then I want that orange layer, which is both the onions, and I'm going to use my my triple freeze-dried bell peppers. So it calls for onions is 1/4 of a cup. I found, when I was cleaning, I found this jar of my Walla Walla onions. I was thrilled. I love Walla Wallas. I thought I had used them all up. See, I need to get organized out there so I know for sure what ingredients I have. Then next is the tricolor peppers. You can use whatever peppers that you wish, but I'm going to use these, and it is also 1/4 of a cup of these peppers. And these are so cool to have on hand. They're great for adding to eggs and all kinds of things. Then it calls for the real recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of Ro-Tel Tomatoes. Now, here's the thing. When I'm doing mixes like this, there are options you can do it a whole lot of ways. You can even double this and make this into a quart if your family is larger. This is just right for Jim and me. But with the Ro-Tel tomatoes, you could save them until you are ready to cook it and then put the canned Ro-Tel in. Or I decided to experiment, and here are my dehydrated Ro-Tel tomatoes. So if you use it out of the can, it is 4 tablespoons. If you want to dehydrate, then it is 1 tablespoon. And this gives plenty of heat for us. Some of you may like more heat. Then it calls for 1 tablespoon of taco seasoning. And you can see that we use a lot of taco seasoning. And then it calls for a half a teaspoon of salt. And then last of all, it calls for 1/4 of a cup of rice. Now I'm just using our regular long grain rice, and it's going to go right on the top of all of those dry ingredients. So I'm trying to figure out if I like this arrangement better. I think I do. Anyway, it will be used regardless. Now, in order to cook this, reconstitute it, you need to use 2 cups of broth. There are several ways to do this. You could put a couple of beef broth cubes in here. Each one of those cubes makes about a cup. I prefer to just use up this big old container of Knorr beef broth. Some of you are just going to be horrified that I use this. You think we're going to kill ourselves using this. So far, so good. I'm just going to put a couple of teaspoons in. 1 teaspoon equals 1 cup. So that when I open that up, I don't have to worry about pulling down one of my quart jars of beef broth and using only half of it. Now, the other thing that will happen is that as we cook this, just about the last 5 minutes before the rice is all the way done, we need to add a cup of hamburger. Now, I have a ton of canned ground beef, or minced beef, as they say across the pond, or hamburger, the way we say it in the United States. And so that's what I will be using. If you're going to be doing this fresh, you can just cook it up right in the moment. But the hamburger should be added so that it can absorb some of the seasonings as well before all of that liquid is gone. So we will do that. And then that's all there is to it. And then I will just put a previously used flat and a ring, and then we will vacuum seal these. All right, we're going to make one up now with black beans, which I have right here. And I do want to share with you a discovery that I recently made. When we were testing thermal cookers, I slow cooked a whole lot, 8 quarts of the white navy beans. And by slow cooking them, and when I put them in my dehydrator for fast beans, they did not pop. It was incredible. I'm not going to cook them from now on using pressure. I'm going to cook them slowly either on the stove, or I may just use a slow cooker so that they will not pop. All right, so 3/4 of a cup of black beans, and these again are the fast beans. Looks like these are the dehydrated ones. 1/4 cup of onions. 1/4 cup of peppers. 1/4 cup of rice. Ro-Tel tomatoes. 1 tablespoon of the dehydrated. These turned out so nice. If you would like for me to do a video on dehydrating this Ro-Tel, put your comment in and we'll see how much of a demand there is for it. Tablespoon of taco seasoning. 2 teaspoons of bouillon for the broth. So here we have it. That's pretty with the black beans in there as well. And it is ready. I will vacuum seal these off camera. So I have 3, and I probably have enough ingredients that I can do maybe 3 or 4 more. These will be wonderful for Jim to have now that he is retired and home by himself all day, to just pop one of those in a pot and cook it up for burritos. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to put a lot of this stuff away. When we come back, I'll be set up to show you how we're going to cook one of these. I filled up a couple of more jars and I ran out of pintos, so I did a combination of pintos and black beans, and I think that's the one we'll use for our demonstration this morning. So when we're ready to go with this, now remember I already have my bouillon powder in here, so all I have to add is 2 cups of water, and I'm just going to use this same jar because it's a pint, which is exactly 2 cups, and I'm going to put it in. Okay, now I'm going to turn this on. We're going to bring this to a simmer and let it simmer for about 15 minutes until the water is almost all absorbed. Then we'll bring you back when it's time to add the hamburger. It's been about 15 minutes, so let's check. All right. So it is just about, yes, it's just right to add this hamburger. It is sticking a little bit to the bottom. I am going to add, because we still need to warm up that hamburger, I'm going to add a little bit more water just so that we can have a steaming effect and get that off the bottom. It's cooking faster in this cast iron than it did during our trial on our regular stove. Now you could also at this point add anything else that you might want to rehydrate, and then a little more extra water, like you could add freeze-dried potato chunks or whatever. So this is a very easy recipe to add other ingredients to. This is the last half of the pint of hamburger that we used the first half for our trial run. So this is just perfect to finish it up here for our video. And so we can just mash up this hamburger a little bit, let it get warmed among all of the yummy ingredients, and we'll give this about another 5 minutes or so to catch back up. All right, we'll be back. I turned the flame off because this is cast iron and it keeps things very hot, but you can see the consistency of the mixture. This is just perfect. You can see the black beans and the pinto beans. This is such a beautiful looking mixture with the tricolored peppers. And so now we're just going to make a couple of burritos for Jim, and he promises that he's going to coach me, because I asked him if he would come around to this side of the camera. We could put it on the tripod, but he elected not to. So I'm going to make the burritos my way, and then he will coach. All right, so I'm just going to put it right here. He likes big burritos. And then I fold up the end and then just roll it like this. So you can see the filling is just starting to come out on that edge. And I'm going to make him another one. The other day when we tested this, he had 3 burritos and I had a half. And that half was plenty for me.
I couldn't let it go to waste. Looks good.
All right, so here are the 2 burritos for Jim's lunch, and I know what he's going to do. He's going to slather them with cheese and run them in the microwave and then use salsa on the outside. Now take a look to see how much is left. There are easily 2 more burritos with what is left. And so I'm just going to put this right back in the jar, put it in the refrigerator so he will have it all ready for another lunch later this week. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. It is so much fun. It is very variable. You can change out the ingredients if you wish. And it is so handy to have already dehydrated or freeze-dried ingredients on hand. So something like this becomes quite an easy thing to put together. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you at our next video.